A grand welcome to the session. Today we are going to deal with the topic of studies, essay by Francis Bacon. So with a fresh mind, let's move on to the topic. Let's have a brief introduction about Francis Bacon. Francis Bacon, he was born in 1561. He was born in London to the parents who were members of the court of Queen Elizabeth I. He attended Trinity College, entered the practice of law in his late teens, and became a member of House of Commons at the age of 23. His career flourished under King James I, but later scandals ended his life as a politician. He was a philosopher and scientist, and one of the most admired thinkers of his day. And we know that Bacon was the founder of the modern empirical tradition based on closely observing the physical world, conducting controlled experiments, and interpreting the results rationally to discover the workings of the universe. Of his many published works, he is best remembered for his essays, collected from 1597 until after his death. Brief meditations noted for their wit and insight. These essays are brief meditations noted for their wit and insight. Let's see the opening line of the essay. Studies serve for delight, for ornament, and for ability. The chief use for delight is in privateness and retiring. For ornament is in discourse, and for ability is in judgment and disposition of business. This is how Francis Bacon opens his essay. And we know that from the title itself, Francis Bacon is talking about the importance of studies. And in the beginning itself, he enlists three main purposes of studies. Which are they? Delight, ornamentation, and for ability. We all know that studies delight us when we are secluded or reposed. And if we are engaged in a conversation, studies serve as an ornament. As we all know, if a man is well read, he will have a good vocabulary skill, greater knowledge about the world, and all these things will be reflected in his speech or conversation. And again, he is speaking about ability. Another purpose of studies, a well-read man or a well-learned man, he will be having good judgmental skills and authoritative abilities. Francis Bacon moves on by saying that for expert men can execute and perhaps judge of particulars one by one, but the general counsels and the plots and marshalling of affairs come best from those that are learned. Here, by expert men, Francis Bacon means experienced men. If an ordinary man, if he has experience, he can do many things. He can execute any work, he can take decisions, he can judge the particulars and do many things. But when it comes to general counsels, to execute a project in the right perspective or take decision on something or organize or putting particulars in the right order, these things come best from people who are learned. So for expert men can execute, there is no doubt about it. Ordinary men can do many things, but the correct judgment in the right perspective, it comes from the people who are learned. To spend too much time in studies is sloth. To use them too much for ornament is affectation. To make judgment wholly by their rule is the humor of a scholar. Here, Francis Bacon prefers scholarship to experience. But it doesn't mean that he disregards experience or experience has no value, but he attaches more importance to learning and scholarship. But if a man spends too much time on studies, then it is to do such a thing is a kind of laziness. To spend too much time in studies is sloth. Sloth means laziness. Sloth means laziness. And to use them too much for ornament is affectation. Suppose a man is using all the knowledge that he has gained to embellish his conversation, to embellish his talk, to as an ornamentation, then it is a kind of affectation, showing off, or we can say ostentation. It's a kind of show off. And Bacon adds on, to make judgment wholly by their rules. And if a person is going to base all his decisions, all his judgments on the basis of the bookish knowledge that he has gained, it is, or it is, it may be considered as a strange behavior of a scholar, or eccentric behavior, eccentricity of a scholar. They perfect nature and are perfected by experience. For natural abilities are like natural plants that need pruning by study, and studies themselves do give forth directions too much at large, expect they be bounded in by experience. Here, Bacon says that studies help to perfect or to improve one's natural abilities or the innate abilities. So experience is necessary for the natural abilities to become perfect. So here he is highlighting the importance of experience. Studies perfect nature and it is perfected by experience. For natural abilities are like natural plants. Here Bacon is comparing the natural abilities to natural plants, to plants. We know that plants grow in a wild manner unless it is pruned. Similarly, natural abilities to develop and go out of control unless it is checked. So here the comparison is with gardening. Crafty men contemn studies, simple men admire them, and wise men use them. For they teach not their own use, but that is the wisdom without them, above them won by observation. Here, Bacon says that cunning men or practical men, they think that studies have no use for them. Their own natural cleverness will carry them through. That's why Bacon says crafty men contemn studies. Cunning men, crafty men or cunning men or practical man. Simple men admire them. Now, who is this simple man? Simple man means foolish men, foolish kind of people. They wonder at learning. They are amazed. Simple men admire them, and wise people they are going to use. They are going to make use of studies as a tool to gain their ends. Now he moves on. There is a wisdom that is outside the scope of studies, and how this wisdom is achieved or how it is gained. It is gained or obtained only by observation. Okay. So there is a wisdom that is outside the scope of the studies and it can be obtained, it can be won by observation. Read not to contradict and confute, not to believe and take for granted, not to find, talk and discourse, but to weigh and consider. Here, Francis Bacon warns us against reading just for the purpose of finding faults or criticizing others. It is not recommended. That is not the purpose of reading. We should not read just to find the fault of others or criticize others. And he also says that we should not blindly believe or take for granted what we find in the books. Whatever we find in the newspaper, whatever we find in the media, whatever appears in the media, we should not believe all these things. And we should not read for the purpose of entering into arguments. Okay, for talk and discourse or entering into arguments, we should not make use of reading. We should be able to consider and find out what is true and what is false. That is what he means by saying, but to weigh and consider. We should have the ability to find out what is good and what is bad, what is true and what is false. That is the purpose of reading. Now we are going to read the oft-quoted line of Francis Bacon's essay. Some books are to be tasted, others to be swallowed, some few to be chewed and digested. That is, some books are to be read only in parts, others to be read but not curiously, and some few to be read wholly with diligence and attention. Here, Bacon says that there are different kinds of books available. So some books are to be read here and there. Some are to be hurried through just for grasping the content. You can just hurry through these books. And there are some other books that should be read carefully. And we can take the content given in those books to our mind, into our mind. We can absorb the content. So here we can see Bacon is using a metaphor. And what is that metaphor? He's using the metaphor of eating, isn't it? Metaphor of eating is used here. You can see he is using tasted. Some books should be tasted, others to be swallowed, some few to be chewed, digested. All these are metaphors of eating. We know that books contain the food for thought. So this food has to be tasted or swallowed or chewed and digested. That is why he is using this metaphor here. And he is effectively communicating the idea. Some books also may be read by deputy, extracts made of them by others, but that would be only in the less important arguments and meaner sort of books. Else distilled books are like common distilled waters, flashy things. Here, Bacon says that there are also books that are read by deputy and extracts made by others. But such books, we can depend on such books. That means summaries made by others on originals. Okay, so we can depend on such books if we are engaging in a less important argument. Okay, then we can depend on such books. But he is considering these books as meaner sort of books, and that's why he is comparing these books to distilled water. So distilled water, it does not possess all the qualities of water. It had lost many minerals and all that, so it is distilled. So these books, they don't have the real worth of the originals. Okay, so these books are not worth considering. That's why he is not recommending summaries and extracts. Reading makes a full man, conference a ready man, and writing an exact man. Here Bacon says that reading makes a man well informed. That is what he means by a full man. Conference. And what is conference? It is conversation or discussion. So discussion makes a man ready-witted man, and writing, constant practice and training in writing, it helps a person to acquire the exactness of expression. So here Bacon is drawing our attention to the advantages of reading, discussion and writing. And he moves on, and therefore if a man write little, he need have a great memory. So Bacon is convinced that writing is an aid to memory, and a man should keep a written record of everything, and if a man is not keeping any written record, then that person is going to have a good memory. If he confer little, he need have a present wit. So a man should have experience to take part in discussion, to engage in debates. So it is based on experience. And if he read little, he need have much cunning to seem to know that he doth not. And if a person is not well read or that much learned, then he should have that practical cunningness with him so that he can appear as a knowledgeable person before others. So it is that we call in Malayalam Padicha Kallan, like that. Histories make men wise, poets witty, mathematicians subtle, natural philosophy deep, moral grave, logic and rhetoric able to content. Here, Bacon assigns each branch of study to an exclusive purpose. He says that his histories make men wise. History makes us wise because we can learn from the mistakes that all great personalities had committed. What were the reason for that? From all these things we can acquire knowledge. So histories make men wise. And poets witty. We know that poets are the people who play with imagination and words. So here witty means imagination. Poets stimulates our imagination. And next is mathematics. It makes us subtle. It makes us sharp. And when we come to natural philosophy, it makes us deep. Deep means it increases our depth of knowledge and information. And moral studies or ethics, moral or ethics, it makes us serious. That means grave, serious. It makes us serious. And logic and rhetoric, it helps us to argue convincingly. Okay, able to contend. Uh, it makes us argue convincingly. Now, you can see a Latin adage or Latin quote here, abunt studia in mores. It means studies affect character. So here Bacon points out that studies have their profound effect on our personality and character. Now, Francis Bacon says that deficiencies and weaknesses in a person can be remedied or overcome by suitable studies. And this is similar to the remedy sought in appropriate physical exercises or bodily ailments. That's what he says here. There is no stand or impediment in the wit. It may be wrought out by fit studies. Like diseases of the body may have appropriate exercises. And he gives us some examples. Bowling is good for stone and reins. It means bowling is good for kidneys. And shooting for lungs and breast. Gentle walking for stomach. Riding for head. And the like. Now, Bacon adds on. In the same way as exercises are useful for certain bodily functions, studies of particular subjects are good for the development of mind and its function. And he points out the example of mathematics. We can see that, so if a man's wit be wandering, let him study mathematics. For in demonstrations, if his wit be called away, never so little, he must begin again. So he says that the study of mathematics thus helps us concentrate our attention and prevent our mind from wandering. Even if our mind wanders from the subject a little, we may begin again. Now he moves on. He says that the study of philosophy is very useful, and he refers to philosophers as schoolmen. The study of philosophy, it enables us to train our mind to make fine or nice distinction between things. Fine or nice distinction between things. It is very apt to distinguish or find differences between things. And these schoolmen or the philosophers, they are seminisectors or hair splitters. They have deep knowledge about everything in this world. And if he be not apt to beat over matters and to call up one thing to prove and illustrate another, let him study lawyers' cases. So the study of lawyers' cases is useful to train oneself to be precise and to the point, and to call up one thing to prove and illustrate another. So here what Bacon stresses is that every defect or the deficiency of mind has a specific remedy in studies. And he says, so every defect of the mind may have a special receipt. And thus he concludes the essay. So in today's class, we had a wonderful discussion of the essay of studies written by Francis Bacon. Line by line, every detail has been dealt in this video. I hope the video was useful for you all. So if you like the video, please do post your comments in the comment box, and don't forget to hit the subscribe and the like button, and do share the video with your friends so that they also get benefited from the classes. And you can find the Telegram channel's link in the description box. You can join the Telegram channel to get the notes and all that. So thank you so much for watching.